After solely shooting digital for half a decade, and more recently discovering my love for film photography, I went out and bought some new cameras to further my passion. This is my 1980s Nikon F3 35mm SLR. This camera is regarded as one of the best film SLRs out there, and when you compare it to digital stills cameras, they're not all that different. With this camera, I still get full manual control over how I take photos. Maybe not to the same extent as a new camera, but up to what was capable for the film stock at the time. I think that this camera and many other vintage cameras can be more interesting than modern DSLRs. For example, on this camera you can remove the viewfinder and look directly down into the camera for waist level shots. This is mimicked by modern DSLRs and mirrorless cameras that use rotatable screens. Like most people, I had always taken photos of nice views or during fun moments, and it wasn't until 2017 when I got into more serious photography. For the best part of 5 years, this Canon 200D has been my main camera to shoot with. During this time, I've taken thousands of photos across many distinctive styles or genres of photography. I've shot from a vast range of different genres, some of those being landscapes, nature, street photography, travel, architecture, product photography, and so much more. Here you can see some examples of each of these genres. Now we are going to see another photographer's perspective on this.
So my name's Cameron Perez, and I've been taking photos for about 6 years.
What initially got you into photography?
So I love going on walks, especially in the lakes as I live so close, and just, capturing the landscape was something I really wanted to do. So I invested in a cheap camera from about 10 years ago, and just started taking pictures of the hills, the lakes, all stuff like that, and also just the moments that I was having with my parents and friends and stuff like that. I think when with time, I definitely grew into stylizing my photos more and bringing attention to the parts of life that no one really sees. So like in the photos that I've taken, stuff like a metal handrail in a forest, or the crab cage, which no one would ever look at before, but if you taking a nice photo of it, it brings something to it.
Very nice. What would you say is your most memorable photo you took, or most memorable photography experience?
I think for photography experience, definitely when I went to Paris. It was on a trip with school, for my last school trip. But we went to Paris for 3 or 4 days, and I was with Matthew, and we were taking pictures of it was like a whole new world, completely different buildings, lots of things to see. So that was a lot of fun, and also something that I enjoyed to develop my skills was going to Shropshire. We stayed in a small house about 10 miles from any other town. So I spent my evenings in a farmer's field in the dark, running around with a torch, doing light trails and light paintings. I paint my name in the sky and stuff, and cars going by on a local road, and that was a lot of fun, and definitely built my skills with low light photography.
That sounds great, and thank you very much for being a part of this.
Thanks for having me.
Until 2018, I'd never considered making a more serious film. I had massive influence from all around me, from my friends to creators I'd watched, and it all started with one sound.
Big spaceship, and he's got this portal window, and he's looking out of it, and he sees the curvature of the earth for the first time. And then all of a sudden, this strange ticking begins coming out of the dashboard.
Okay, yeah.
But he can't find it. He can't stop it. He keeps going. A few hours into this, begins to feel like torture. What's he gonna do? He's up in space. So Cosmonaut decides the only way to save his sanity is to fall in love with this sound.
When I went to create this film, I did not have much experience or knowledge, but I did have a camera and passion. Eventually, I would start using a gimbal to give my films a more professional look. The gear I used and the way I produced my work had evolved, similarly to how the film industry is constantly changing. Over the years that followed, I would continue to make short films, each time trying to develop a new skill or technique. Now we are going to talk to someone from the filmmaking industry so that we can get more insight into how filmmaking has changed over the years.
I'm Rob Ellis. I'm a writer and producer of TV, theatre and film. I think it was about 2005 I was asked to do a piece of music for Emmerdale, the TV show. A very beloved character had died and they were associated with the piano. So I'm first and foremost a musician. I was brought in to rearrange the Emmerdale theme tune into a piano version to match the sort of tone of the piece. From that I was asked to do more and more music, which meant dealing with the story team. And quite often in TV and film, music can be overused to underpin drama. And if the drama's great, you don't always need the music. Less is always more, is what I say. So the action on screen should really be telling you which emotion to feel. And if you need music, sometimes it lifts it. Other times it could be intrusive. So I worked really closely with the team to make sure that it was used when it was appropriate. And from that came some time in the story office developing story. So I moved from music into with no deliberate plan really. Music was always going to be my career, but I'd always told stories. I'd always sort of written things in a little book when I was a child, and I was excited about bringing things to life. So to move into the story office and the story team was quite an exciting but natural progression. So from that I had quite a healthy career in most of the soaps. I did all the UK soaps, writing and storylining. Some brilliant times. It was a really fast-paced way of writing. It's a machine that's well-oiled. And then I did some reality TV, producing that, which was again a completely different set of skills, a completely different style of working. But still, reality TV requires story. All my work is story-led and character-based. If you've not got the characters, you can't get the story across. If you've not got the story, the characters can't shine. So you need both those things, as well as a sparkling script. Filmmaking is a magical thing. It's always been about escapism, right from the silent movies to present day. Putting something on film is not only is the process magical, but what you do and what you make people feel with it is a really magical thing, because you can make people feel any emotion. It's the same as with a piece of music. You can lift somebody's mood, you can take somebody down, you can take them on a journey. So filmmaking, yeah, it brings entertainment, it brings escapism. We've just been through, the whole world has been united in this huge pandemic, and filmmaking still carried on and entertainment still carried on, because it's a little bit like food. You need it. Without entertainment, without escapism, we have nothing to aspire to, we have nothing to escape to. So for that reason, I think it's special. I went through a period of thinking, when you look at people on the front line, army, military, nurses, police, and they're making a real difference, and you're just sat in a room writing stories or holding a camera at somebody, it feels quite trivial, or it did feel quite trivial, but then when you really unpick it and you look at it, you think, well, you can't compare those two things. I knew a lady who she was really suffering. She wasn't very well and she was in hospital. But what got her through was watching certain episodes of a show that I'd written, and she told me that, and it then clicked, that you're doing a service. It's a different type of service. It may not be physical, it may not be, but it's providing somebody with relief, and that is what I think is magical about film. The filmmaking industry is changing all the time. I mean, when I just mentioned the silent movies, but there was a big transition which caused uproar in Hollywood, which was the talkies arriving. That was a huge change, but now it's just what we know. There was a lot of actresses that couldn't transfer their career from non-speaking parts. They had the glamour, they had the look. Sunset Boulevard is a really, really great film to watch, and it still stands up today. It's about the loss of fame and the loss of mourning your career and mourning your star, if you like, purely because the disciplines have changed. Gloria Swanson, it was like a zeitgeist film where Gloria Swanson was a very famous silent movie actress. She was very glamorous. It was just as big as you can get, and they cast her in this movie almost playing like a zeitgeist version of herself, where she'd lost her career and she was trying to get it back, but it didn't quite cross over to talkies. So there's like a big example of a transition. Take it right up to present day, where the last sort of 20 years you've needed a crew to make a film, or to make even a documentary. If you've got a camera, you need somebody doing sound, you need tracking, you need somebody taking note of the shots. It's quite a hefty challenge to put a film together, even a small one. However, with the introduction of smartphones, iPhones in particular, you literally now can make a beautiful top quality film from your own bedroom, with one hand. You can just go out and you can shoot things. The lighting's done for you on iPhone. The sound is pretty special. Obviously, you can buy extra kit that boosts it up, but I quite often use iPhone. I know that in TV now, a lot of the behind the scenes stuff is done on iPhones because they just work. So you no longer need that big crew. You can have it if you've got the budget. That's fantastic. There'll always be a place for big blockbusters and special effects and stuff, but if you've got a story to tell, there is no reason not to tell it now, because if you've got a phone and you've got a story and you've got someone in front of the camera to portray it, then you've got a film.
That's wonderful.
Okay.
Yeah, and thanks for being a part of this.
No, thank you for asking me.
Photography and filmmaking has evolved so much over the years, and it will continue to evolve. Creators will continue to create these brilliant pieces of work to be enjoyed by everyone, and I don't think this wonderful and beautiful thing will ever go away.